Welcome to He Did This to Me, the sports podcast from a father and son who happen to be mostly optimistic Jets, Knicks, and Mets fans. My name is Nick, aka Goody, and with me is my old man, aka the big guy, Noel. And just like his name, all we do is win. Let's get to the show. It's time to begin. Jets get the W in a slosh fest at Jet Life Stadium. Talk to me, big guy. What'd you think of last week's game and the Jets figured a way to get it done?
It was an ugly game for sure. Very, very ugly. I heard one person say that had it been an actual field, you would have. It really didn't look as sloppy as it actually was with the weather because it's a turf field, so you don't see mud and everything everywhere and all that. And then somebody also said that with the rain falling hard, and then it eases off, and they say as everybody starts to feel better about it, and then the rain started coming down hard again, that makes the ball extremely slippery. So, maybe that had something to do with it, but it was an ugly game. But you know what? We've been in a lot of ugly games over the years. We've been in a lot of games where so many mistakes were made. It looked terrible. All I know is we came out with a W. So I'm not as concerned about the beauty of the game because I'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. So, we just have to be better going forward. But like we always say, much easier to correct mistakes from a win than from a loss.
Yeah, no, I've been hearing all of those same things about the field and conditions. I mean, we saw that when we were actually watching the game. I mean, talking about the mistakes, first and foremost, the penalties. I mean, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. Some of those penalties, like Quincy's penalty where he got hit for targeting, I didn't think that, that one I'm like, okay, that guy is moving fast, you're moving fast, he's changing levels. That's a tough one. And most of the time when you see a roughing the passer, it's the replay where you see it and you say, okay, that was a roughing, that was too much. The one on Jermaine Johnson that was in that second half where their first drive, they were able to just march down the field on us between penalties and Saquon. But the one on Jermaine Johnson that would have led to a fourth down stop, DeVito, he hit some crazy late, like in real time, like watching the game. I was like, yo, you cannot do that. And we just gifted them those. Yeah, it was terrible. We gifted them those 7 points. But the other thing is that Jermaine Johnson, other than that, had a great game. I mean, he was all over the field. He had, he had 2 sacks. But he's got to be smarter than that. Playing against a team like the Giants, you get a chance to stay in a game, even with all those mistakes, but you won't be able to win games, moving forward against higher caliber competition.
Yeah. And, I see too many guys, Giants fans, who want to say, almost like the Jets should be ashamed to win that game. Nobody really won that game. It was a mess. That's garbage. Okay, we won the game, and the fact of the matter is, as bad as it looked, it still counts as a W. And at the end of the season, if we make it to the playoffs, guess what? In the W column, it's going to be that game, and it's not going to say anything about how good-looking or bad-looking the game was. So I don't want to hear that crap. Okay, so we won the game. That's it. They can go cry in their spilled milk.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's just like Salah says, at the end of the season, they don't ask you how, they just ask you how many. And anybody who was saying, oh, well, you won, but are you even happy about that win? Yes, I'm happy about that win.
Yeah.
Yes. I would have been a lot. I could tell you I could tell you how I felt when there was a minute left in the fourth quarter, and I can tell you how I felt after that last kick went ahead and just snuck inside the uprights. So, I mean, I don't even get that narrative. That's just like you said, sour grapes. But at the end of the day, there are some things that we do need to correct, but there's also some things that I look at it that I got to take big positives from. First of all, as you know, there's going to be a lot of close games. Zach Wilson now leads all quarterbacks from that draft class, including Trevor Lawrence, in fourth quarter comebacks now.
Wow.
With 4. Okay. And with everything else that's going on around him, for him to have the moxie and have the mindset to be able to do what he did at the end of the game, which we'll break down a little bit more in depth here in a second, that's a positive to take. And executed at the end of the game. We didn't make the same mistakes twice. We made that mistake in Denver when it came to the clock situation. This time, in a bigger situation with more ground to cover and less time, we were able to execute it properly and be able to clock the ball with that 1 second left. And not to mention a guy who doesn't play center and was on the practice squad last week. So, yeah, I think that the fact that we were able to, really dial in at the end of the game, that our coaching staff was not the coaching staff that gave the game away. That was the other
That's right.
side.
That's right.
Dabol did everything he could to give that game away, from kicking the field goal. And, I listen, when we lost the toss going into overtime, I was like, damn. And I'm not smart enough, but it really would be the smart thing to go ahead and kick the ball there
That's
because
right.
of the field position game. I wonder if we had won the toss, if our coaching staff would have done the smart thing there. We'll
Uh,
never know. But hey,
no.
again, another lesson that they hopefully learned. And in the future, if we're ever in that situation again, we can handle it properly.
Well, yeah, and the reason, is because neither offense was doing well. But you know what, man? Listen, you saw what Zach did when we did get the ball back. There's nothing saying that if we did get the ball first in overtime, that we wouldn't have driven down for at least a field goal. You know what I mean? Now, them, it was very difficult for them because they weren't letting their guy throw the ball. And as far as our coaches making the right decisions and things going wrong, I can think of so many times over the years where you and I have sat and talked, and we were lamenting about a Jets loss and saying basically that the Jets, there were like five things that the Jets, if they had done one of these things right, we would have won the game. But everything went against the Jets. Okay, now it's the flip side. The same thing happened to the Giants. They blew it. We won it. But you know what? It's about us taking advantage of the opportunities. And in years past, we didn't. This time we did. Let's go, move forward on to San Diego, LA.
Yeah, no, yeah. I still always call him San Diego as well. I don't
I
know if
know.
I'll ever
I know.
ever be able to fix that. But yeah, man. I mean, listen, you get out with a W, especially when you have the issues that we had on the offensive line, and that's something that's going to be concerning moving forward. We lost Connor McGovern, and then we lost Schweitzer. We end up having a guy who comes off of the practice squad, and what Xavier Newman,
Yes.
and he comes in off the practice squad. He's really a guard. He's had a cup of coffee in the NFL basically, and all of a sudden he's the center. Very first play, fumbled snap. We give the ball back right back to the Giants. So obviously, you put all those things in those conditions, it's going to make for some sloppy football. It's not going to be, a great game that you can watch with guys throwing it all over the yard. But at the end of the day, we had the stronger defense, and at the end of the game, we executed. They didn't. The O
That's right.
line, though, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. First and foremost, Becton
Very.
had Becton had a tough day. Becton had a tough day.
Had a bad day.
He had a bad day. And then obviously the Xavier Newman situation. Is Tittman coming back? We just went out and signed Chris Glazer. I'm just interested to see how that's all going to play out. And, that's going to be an issue probably for the rest of the season.
Of course. And we signed this guy Saffold too, who was a Pro Bowler a couple of years ago. I think he was out of football, but we signed him. Um, you know, Look, it's going to be an issue. We got to try and put it together. We got Bosa and Mac this week. So that's going to be interesting. We got to, find some way to keep Zach upright. But it's going to be a good game, I hope. And I don't know. Me, I'm always pro Zach. I think pro Zach. That's funny. I think that I think that this could be a game where maybe he could show us a little something more, or get the chance to show us a little something more. But as I'm sure we'll speak about shortly, Zach needs everybody with him. You know what I mean? And guys making mistakes either on the line or in the receiver position or in the running back position makes a big deal, especially for Zach, because he's not that good yet. But That said, I think he's shown some improvement, and I think I do believe that we're close. We're so close in certain situations where one stupid mistake or this, that just ruins a play, and then one stupid penalty ruins a drive, and it's
Mhm.
like, wow, man. I mean, so hopefully this is that week where we get it together, and don't make stupid mistakes.
Hopefully, but I think that where that starts is first and foremost. Well, first and foremost, I said it last week that we need our receivers need to catch the fucking ball, and they did a terrible job of that this past Sunday. Now I know the conditions are tough, but I don't care. At the end of the day, change your gloves. Garrett Wilson, I heard him on Barton Hahn. He said he went to he started with leather gloves, didn't like those. Went to the old, like the newer kind of sticky type gloves. Didn't like those. At the end of the game, when he made that catch in overtime, he was at there just naked out there, bare hands.
Barehanded, okay,
Yeah. So
old
figuring
school.
out exactly what you need to do in that situation, I think needs to happen a little bit quicker. But also, just at the end of the day, we gotta catch the ball. Lazard has 6 drops on the season. That's just
Yeah,
way too many, especially
way too
for a guy who's supposed to be your second best receiver. And where it really starts for me is Nathaniel Hackett. I don't know about this guy, man. I mean, I've seen a lot of people who are smarter than me break down, his play calling and how vanilla it is compared to, most modern day NFL and how little deception there is and how it's one of those things that works really well when you have Aaron Rodgers making all the checks and, being able to see everything that he can, but that if you don't have one of those few guys who can do that, it ends up being a very pedestrian offense. And looking at it, there's a couple things that really scare me. First and foremost, it just never seems like Zach ever is throwing to anybody who's wide open. It seems like when we play against other teams, I'm seeing guys catch, or when I just watch football in general, I'm always seeing guys catching a ball with nobody within 2, 3, 4, 5 yards of them and running and getting tackled. It just seems like that happens so rarely for the Jets. It's similar to what you were saying about the Knicks. Seems like everything happens that we do. It's so difficult. Like everything is so hard.
Well, the Jets are constantly going against man defense. And man defense, you're going to see the guys a lot tighter than in our defense, which plays zone. And so with us playing a loose zone like that, you're going to see guys, when they do make catches, they're going to seem more open. I also think with our defense, a lot of times, guys seem open, but we rally to the ball so well. And we're going to give up some yards in this defense, but we don't give up a lot of scores. And we're able to cause turnovers because of the way we play. There's times when we fool quarterbacks. And yeah, you're right. I wish some of our guys were more wide open. Garrett seems to get good separation, but he's about the only one. And listen, these guys have to be smarter. I saw a really good breakdown of a lot of Zach's throws, and there were at least 3 plays where people ran bad patterns. One pattern where Brees is supposed to be out in the flat, and Garrett was supposed to run it out over here. Brees doesn't have anything in the flat, so he just decides to turn it upfield. And that's youth. And honestly, Brees has to know the playbook and understand what other people on the field are doing, and don't run into that zone because Zach wanted to go to Garrett and ended up going to Garrett. It ended up being an incomplete pass, but the area was just too crowded because Brees turned upfield. Another play where Zach was under extreme pressure, immediate pressure. Xavier Gipson could be wide open, but he doesn't turn his head. He doesn't. He has to understand the situation and look at the situation and not just run the pattern that you were given. If you know it's going to be hot and a 2-second thing, dude, you got to get your head around and be ready to help this quarterback out. And so when Zach sees that, he's got to pump and bring it back down. And next thing you know, he's getting sacked. So it's little things like that that make it very difficult for him to succeed. And they all have to be on the same page. But I believe, hopefully they'll be talking about that this week and be better prepared for next Monday night.
Some of that is the guy, some of that is the coaching. I hope that our coaches are really drilling in those details and, in practice, making it, a point of emphasis that everybody knows what they're supposed to do. And hopefully, I hope those guys are getting, just put to task when it comes to the film room. And, they're embarrassed by the fact that, they make those mistakes. it has to change. Like, we're not going to be able to continue to win games like this. Hey, the Giants, at the end of the day, another thing that's crazy about the whole narrative that, like, oh, you guys should be happy. In the last 3 weeks, the Giants haven't given up more than 14 points.
That's right.
Like that, their defense is looking pretty good. It looks like it's turning a corner. The guy Thibodeau was all over the field. He made a
All
bonehead
over.
play at the end of the game to basically give us the game by giving us that extra timeout with
Hmm.
him lining up in the neutral zone on the big gain at the end of the fourth quarter. But I mean, I just feel like overall the offense, it's not very imaginative. We can't run the ball. I don't want to hear about the offensive line because the Giants have all of the injuries on their own offensive line. And even when the Jets know that they're not doing anything but running the ball, they're still able to run the ball. So some of running is just executing and saying, hey, we're going to execute, we're going to beat you, and we're going to open up some holes, hat on a hat. And, Brees once again was not able to get off and really make any impact in the running game. So I just think that we need to figure that out. I don't know exactly what the answers are, but I'm not an offensive coordinator in the NFL. Nathaniel Hackett, figure that shit out.
Yeah, I hope so. That said, I think we'll do better. I hope we'll do better. The as we've spoken about, the schedule lightens up a little bit, but I don't take too much solace in that simply because it's the NFL, man. You come half-ass any day, you're going to lose. I mean, we're seeing that with so many teams like San Francisco, Detroit, Buffalo. You know, you got to come correct every game, man. There's no team you can absolutely take lightly in the NFL. There just isn't. I saw Saleh say in a press conference, the difference from the best to the worst is this much, and it's a lot tighter than people understand. So I just hope we can figure it out and continue to improve.
Yeah, yeah. As far as Zach, so to break down his performance a little bit more in detail, um, one of the things that I saw, he got four, recorded drops. I've seen breakdowns where it's like he had about 8 balls that receivers had balls hit them in the hands and they didn't end up catching. Sometimes if a defender ends up getting in there and knocking it out, they don't consider that a drop. We really need these guys to step it up and make plays for this kid. I mean, this kid
Mm-hmm.
is under fire. He's got he's got a makeshift offensive line. Guys are in his face all the time. The amount of times that he delivered fantastic balls while taking a shot directly in the chin, but there's never a roughing the passer on a Jets quarterback.
No,
Never, ever. The refs refuse to ever call it. But the amount of times that he stood in there and took shots, I mean, he was getting crushed, and he continued to stand in there, continued to deliver some of his biggest throws at the end of the game. That throw to Garrett Wilson in overtime, which that was a huge throw. He got crushed on that throw, threw a fantastic ball. Garrett Wilson catches the ball, gets down, pops back up, gets the first down. I mean, that's the play that really gave us the ability to go ahead and kick it and win the game. I'm. It's funny because at the beginning of the week, you see a lot of the people who, your Greg Giannotti and Boomer Esiasons, who they just seem to just peddle in negativity all the time. So many people just crushing Zach the next morning. And listen, can't take those sacks at the end of the fourth quarter. I was
no,
crushing Zach when he took those as well. That
of
is
course.
something that you absolutely positively cannot do. And I will say that his lack of awareness sometimes is alarming, just as far as like him not understanding in that situation that you can't take a sack and some of the other things that he's done, throughout the year where it just seems like he doesn't understand the situation. But overall, I don't know how you could watch that entire game and say, oh, the quarterback is terrible. That's why we played so badly. I don't get that narrative. But I have seen a lot of people, the Arlovskis of the world, who have been saying Zach didn't play that badly. You had terrible conditions, you had makeshift offensive line, and you had receivers and just skill position players in general not doing their job and not executing on a consistent basis.
No doubt about it. And yeah, some guys are just, I think, ragging on Zach at this point is just low hanging fruit, Nick. I mean, some people are good, just going to want to grab at that whenever they can. And I just don't understand some people who are always negative like that. But okay, that's their business. Listen, the thing with Zach is, yeah, he needs to play better. Um, he is. Listen, for what looks like a bit of a pretty boy from Utah or wherever, he's a pretty tough kid. Okay, he takes some shots and he doesn't. You don't see him limping around. I mean, he takes some shots. He stays the same way and he does it. The difference with Zach, I see, as opposed to say, like, let's go back to Geno Smith. Let's talk about Sam Darnold. Zach Zach needs to figure some things out, but Zach's arm talent compared to any of those guys is so much greater. I think he's got fantastic arm talent, Nick. That's why I don't want the Jets to give up on him, at least not yet, because I feel with his arm talent, he's going to be a quarterback in this league. If nothing else, a good backup in this league. When he gets it figured out, and I believe he will, it's taking him a little bit of time, obviously. But I think he's got the arm talent to be really good in this league. I think his arm talent is rare. Okay, I think he's got better arm talent than a lot of quarterbacks in this league. And when he's in a situation where he's allowed to be upright for 5, 6 seconds, like I see some of these quarterbacks, I think he's going to be making some amazing throws. I mean, it's funny though. After that Jet game, I was watching some of KC on the Kansas City game, and hey, there were a couple plays in that game, couple interceptions thrown by Mahomes that I was like, my goodness, if Zach threw these, I mean, they were terrible interceptions. Just what are you doing? Interceptions. Then I saw a couple plays by Mahomes where he's running away on third down when they needed a first down, and the guy's running behind him, and he's running away, and all of a sudden, boom, he gets sacked. And listen, this is not excusing Zach. He needs to be more aware and all that. I just think sometimes in the NFL, Nick, these things happen so suddenly, especially when you're out there, you're trying to make a play. Yes, I need him to throw that ball away. But sometimes you're trying to make a play, you want to wait one more split second to make this throw, and this guy's on you, man. And it's like, yes, you need to be more cognizant of that. But sometimes, man, these guys just show up out of nowhere. I think for some of these quarterbacks, and we saw it with Russell Wilson a couple weeks before when we played them, and Quincy just like zoomed onto the screen. I mean, he just appeared on the screen and was on Russell Wilson within a nanosecond. And I'm convinced Russell Wilson was totally surprised by that because I don't even think he heard Quincy's footsteps as he was approaching. And I think the same thing is sometimes happening to Zach and frankly to Patrick Mahomes when I saw him. But, Zach does have to play better and be more aware. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, compared to Mahomes, when Mahomes had a terrible game against the Jets, but then he made the plays when it counted, everybody talked about, even when a tough game, Mahomes, when it's time to get it done, when it's money time, when Mahomes finds the way. When it was money time in this game, Zach Wilson delivered 3 fantastic throws. I mean,
right.
the throw to Garrett Wilson, the throw to Lazard to set up the field goal, and then the throw to Garrett Wilson in overtime are all throws that, like you said, not many guys in the NFL can make just because they simply don't have the arm talent to do it. And 2 of those 3 throws, he stood in and took a big hit as well. So I definitely think that all of that needs to be taken into account. Like you said before, it is become a thing where it's like in vogue to shit on this guy. And I know some of the numbers aren't amazing, but he's not. Zach was not the issue on Sunday.
No,
He's not the issue. There's some things that I'd like to see him clean up. But overall, he not only gave us a chance to win, he won the game. Like he went out there and he got us to win. Obviously, the defense does their thing. Jermaine Johnson, another great game. Quinnen Williams with a game where some stats aren't going to jump out at you, but overall he played a really strong game. And then also Quincy with another strong game. Couple tough penalties. One was a bad one. One of them was one I didn't. I don't see how he avoids it honestly. But overall, he played pretty well. Morstead. First of all, I gotta say this: like, if you want to be ahead of the curve when it comes to the Jets, Knicks, Mets, and etc., you come to he did this to me because we've been talking about since the preseason how this was Quincy's year for him to blow up. Well, he just won AFC Player of the Month, and I brought up a couple weeks ago what a weapon we have in Morstead and how great he is. And with our defense plus him, how that's like an extra weapon that most teams don't have and
Mhm.
Morstead wins, special teams player of the week, puts three balls out of bounds inside the five. I mean, he was just Morstead was
Unbelievable.
fantastic. It was so cool seeing how like emotional he was. This guy's a punter. He probably doesn't get a whole lot of love, and him getting love. Now he's doing interviews on McAfee. He's the toast of the town now. But yeah, no, I just wanted to point out. I'm pat us on the back a little bit. You heard it here first.
That's right. That's right. Facts. Morstead was incredible, man. Our special teams is fantastic. We're doing our damn thing, man, on the special teams. And I mean, that play by McDonald jumping over the center to skew the field goal. I'm hearing reading where some people say, "Oh, that was actually illegal. It should have been called." I don't care. Okay,
He didn't make
you,
contact with the guy. If he doesn't make contact with him, it's legal. Then
I don't know what they're talking about. I stopped reading. Okay. I don't care about any of that. That's so great. So it's like Boomer talking about, oh, well, the ref didn't touch the ball. No, the back judge came and he touched the ball.
hey, great shout to that ref though. Great hustle by that ref.
That's
Shout to that
right.
ref.
Let's
He did
go.
he did the right thing, but like how often do we see refs do something slightly different there? And I mean, obviously we had no time to spare. So shout to that
But
ref. Great hustle.
the thing was, is that the center newbie Xavier Newman knew to go to the line, look to the line judge, and pointed to him to make sure he was there. And then all the ref had to do was come up and touch the ball, which, like you say, he hustled up and made that happen. But only because we put it in position to make it happen. And that is exactly how it went down. And that's why we won the game. So, I'm sorry, Boomer, but I think you're way off on that one. And oh, by the way, Boomer, you're a former Jet. Why all the negativity, bro? Come on, man. Okay, I don't expect you to be an absolute homer, but lately he seemed very negative, and I don't know. That's
He
his business.
really seems not to be a fan of Zach Wilson in general. I think
Mm-hmm.
he was a big Darnold guy. So it's what
I think so.
I think that is that's filtering into his overall feeling about Zach. But hey, man, I don't care. Listen, at the end of the day, I rarely even listen to that show anymore.
Right.
And I just think that some like you said, like it's in vogue, it's popular. That's like people love to just bathe in negativity. So if you're going to have a morning show in New York, coming out with that type of rhetoric, it's probably going to get you more views. So if that's what works
Right.
for him, good for him. Your boy Dabel, he's a dick. I don't like that guy.
I'm not a big fan. I don't like his act. I'm just not a big fan, man. I did think last year when everything was going peachy, I always felt like, is this guy that good? And honestly, I felt last year like, are the Giants that good? I never thought they were that good, but everything broke right for them. And it doesn't work that way very often in the NFL. And this year it's not. So, look, I don't necessarily wish the Giants ill will. I don't wish them to lose. Um, but I don't think Dable's such a great coach. And like I've told you before, I think the whole chewing guys out when they do something wrong publicly, I don't think that's necessary, especially when you're dealing with grown men. I don't know. I don't know how that helps. I mean, some people say, "Oh, so what? These guys can't be yelled at." No, they can be yelled at and so forth. But especially with your quarterback, I don't know how it helps to emasculate this guy publicly. I don't know why that helps. I mean, if you talk to that guy, if you talk to, who was it, Tyrod Taylor and so forth, if you talk to him in private, I don't know how it would have been worse than, just obviously being upset with the guy publicly. And I think I said to you last week about Tyrod Taylor. I said, Tyrod, get down, be careful, and then something else I heard, the last time he got hurt in Cleveland was when they played the Jets and they crushed them then, and that started the Baker Mayfield era.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This time your man Mosley basically squeezed that guy's rib cage and probably busted a rib, because you could see immediately he was hurt immediately.
Bad
And
pain. Yeah.
I'm Oh man, I felt badly for him for a moment. Yeah, but he was immediately hurt and he just got smashed on the ground. Listen, man, I think this Jets team is extremely violent. This Jets defense especially. So I think that if these quarterbacks aren't careful, man, there's going to be a lot more injuries. My man Michael Clemens, he's got some making up for his stupid penalty last week. So watch him coming out of a cannon this week.
Jumping off sides on a field goal.
Brutal, brutal.
Jesus. Was it a field goal or a punt? No, it was a punt, I think.
Well, it gave him a first down,
It
right?
gave
And
him
they
a
were
first
able to
down, yeah.
drive. Well, but it was on the same drive with Jermaine Johnson, wasn't it?
Right. So it was a punt because that was early in the drive. Then we continued
Right.
the drive. Then we had another like misconduct, and then we had the Jermaine Johnson late hit. I mean, we did everything we could to let them possibly score. I would like to see the Jets defense, if we know they can't do anything but run the ball. I'd like to be able to see us be able to stop the run a little bit. I think that's one of our that's like our biggest issue on defense right now is that we don't stop the run, but we've been gashed by a few different times this season. Does it end up leading to a ton of points? No, but I'm nervous about that situation where hey, it's the end of a game and all a team needs to do is run the ball and get a few first downs and we can't stop them. So we do want to be a little bit better in that. Dwayne Brown, they say he could be back soon. I don't know what that means. I actually saw somebody say that if he came back, he would go to left tackle and Becton would go back to right tackle. I don't get that, but I also know that they've always said about Dwayne Brown, he's never played anything but left tackle his entire
Right.
career. So why do you
Right.
want to move him? I don't know. If I'm Becton, that would annoy me, quite frankly.
Yeah,
And
but Becton's more versatile right now, so they might need him to do that. And I saw where Becton yesterday or today said, "Look, I just want to be out there playing. Wherever they want to put me, they can put me. I'm just out there playing." And I love that attitude. And if Dwayne Brown has to go there, then he has to go there. We just have to. Everybody's got to play up to snuff, man. And I think Becton had a really bad game. He, in fact, admitted it. He did not play well, and he said it wasn't so much Kayvon Thibodeau; it was him not doing what he needed to do. So, hopefully, that's the case. Listen, Kayvon Thibodeau had a great game. Can't take it away from him. He had a great game, and he's played very well the last few weeks. So, I'm still more of a Jermaine Johnson guy, but Thibodeau deserves his props for that game. He did very well.
yeah, he did, but he also made that huge mistake at the end.
Hey, it
And
happens.
your boy Becton, yeah, Becton needs to step up. He needs to be better because, like you said, this week we play the Chargers. You will be in the building at MetLife Stadium. You got Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa on the ends, who I was reading a Chargers blog earlier trying to get some inside info, and they were saying that Bosa had his most complete game of the season this past game, and it's starting to look like after dealing with some injuries that he's really like coming into form, which is the exact opposite of what I want to hear.
Mm.
What are you thinking about this week? Are you going to be walking out Monday night in a great mood, or are you going to be walking out Monday night with your head down and shaking your head?
I think I'm going to be walking out in a great mood. I believe the Jets and I are simpatico. They know I'm going to be at the game. They win when I'm there. I was at the Buffalo game last year where they won big at Jet Life, and they're going to do the same thing this week. Obviously, I'm hoping for them to win, but I just feel like something special is going to happen. But this is me wishing, of course. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, look for me in the Joe Namath throwback. I'll be there, and it'll be a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the big keys in this game is we got to throw the ball down the field. I mean,
Yeah,
San Diego's going to score some points. We're not going to hold San Diego to 10 points. So we got to throw the ball down the field. We got to open it up. We've got to be better. I mean, another thing that bothered me about Hackett from this past game, two different times on 3rd and 1, we come out, we throw the ball. One of those times we come out with an empty backfield on 3rd and 1. I, I listen, again, I don't claim to be somebody who's some sort of savant when it comes to offense in today's NFL. But from what the people that I like to listen to, the Orlovskis, the Chris Sims, a lot of them they talk about the fact that you need to throw the ball on early downs. And I'm sorry, but I need this Jets team, especially when it's a monsoon, I need my team to be able to come out on 3rd and 1 and say, all right, we're going to step up mano a mano and we're going to get this yard. And I just think that Hackett's got to be. He seems wildly predictable as far as the other team seems like they know exactly what we're going to do. It seems like that happens a lot throughout a game, and he better figure it out before Monday because with those two ends and that offense, we're going to have to scheme some things in our favor if we want to win this game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, their running back, Austin Eckler, is very good. Their receivers are excellent. But I will tell you, man, Justin Herbert has been heralded as some really good young quarterback, and he is good. I don't think he's quite as good as people say he is. I really don't. I think we're going to turn this guy over. Um, I just don't think he's as good as people say he is. I don't think he's as good as, say, Trevor Lawrence down in Jacksonville. Um, I um, I think we're going to turn this guy over, man. I think we're going to do better against him than people think. We do need to stop the run better. That said, I think our defense is predicated on the fact that we give up yardage and stuff like that. But when we get down to the ends of the field, nobody's running it in from 20 yards away there. Usually, we're stopping them. So it's all part of there's a method to the madness, whatever. But it's working. It's working. It's working. It's working. So let's just keep doing what we're doing on defense. It's working.
Yeah, yeah. We stayed quiet at the trade deadline. The reports are that we, inquired about Devontae Adams, that we inquired about
Mike
the
Evans.
Mike, yeah, yeah, about Mike Evans. I mean, listen, I would have loved for us to get another receiver, even a bit, especially a big name like that. Um, Alan Lazard is not a number two in the NFL, in my opinion. He can't be a number two receiver. And as far as the slot, I guess that's Xavier Gibson, an undrafted rookie. At the end of the day, I think it's going to be tough for us to go to certain heights with this receiving core that we have currently. What do you think? I mean, as far as our relative, quietness at the deadline, how did that make you feel?
I wasn't as upset with it simply because I think you know how I feel with receivers. Um, I think receivers are great, but I don't think you go out and get a big money, big time receiver, frankly, until that's about the last piece you need. I just don't think that's the way to go because now that guy is going to come in and he's going to want so many balls a game. And I don't see how we're going to get anybody more balls a game. But let's say he got the throws that Lazard gets, then hopefully he makes something of that. Um, I would have liked to have improved maybe and got an offensive lineman, but there's not that many offensive linemen out there. I know one guy was traded. Hopefully, these guys we did pick up help. Hopefully, we get Tippmann back. I think that I like Joe Douglas. I think Joe Douglas does a good job. I think everybody seems to think, people just think like offensive linemen grow on trees, and there's a couple standing out in front of Home Depot that you could just go pick up right now, and that's not the case. So I think you try to do your best with what you have, and hopefully we coach them up, man. I mean, look, you have to say that guy Xavier Newman. Clearly, we've been coaching that guy well. Okay, just like with the defensive backs a couple weeks ago, I mean, and I saw Salah talking about it. The reason he was on the roster and active for the game as opposed to somebody else who maybe had more experience was because he snapped the ball. He knows how to snap the ball. So he was active, and we he was ready to come in there and do the job. We've seen so many times in past years under different regimes where if you were not the starter and getting all the reps in practice, these other guys come in and they don't know what is going on and they're lost. They can't play. At least most of our guys, when they come in spot duty like that, like I'm saying, I'm harkening back to the defensive backs that came in and played well for us a couple of weeks ago. You know, it says something to me about the coaching staff. Could we be better? Absolutely. But I think we are getting there. We're just playing an all around. I don't want to say better brand of football after last week's game, but we are doing some things better. I think I'm just seeing some more consistency with the way we play. Not so much last week, but with the way we play, in spots last week. But I think we continue to improve. It's hard for me to be coming in uber negative when we won the game. We did win the game. Win ugly, sure. I don't care about that. We won. Period. Let's go.
Absolutely. Not how, but how many, as my man Salah said. But yeah,
That's right.
moving on to the New York Knickerbockers. Since we were last on, they are 2-2. I want to start off with something very specific, and that is Charles Barkley. I mean, because we are out of market, we're forced to watch the TNT broadcast against the Cavs on against the Cavs on Tuesday.
First game, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I get so fuck Charles Barkley. I get so tired of this guy. He hates the Knicks so much. Some of the things that he was saying before the game at halftime, just talking about how Cleveland is unequivocally better than us when we just beat them 4-1 in a series last year. And I guess they added that guy Yang, or is like I mean, what that guy
Niang or
he's taking them over the top. Like I just he just the way he's just so dismissive of the Knicks, it really, really does drive me nuts. But in those games, we beat Atlanta looking, pretty strong in that game, even though the close score was a little closer than I would like. We get crushed by the Pelicans. Zion being able to do whatever he wants. I mean, when you can jump from the free throw line, grab the ball, take 2 steps, jump from the free throw line with 2 hands on the ball, hang in the air, and then dip under and put it up soft with either hand. It's that's a tough one to guard. I mean, it's almost like he's like a huge version of Kyrie with his ability to finish sometimes. Some of that high off the glass shit, it just seems like there's no way it's going in, and it was continuing to drop. Obviously with him, the biggest question is health. But yeah, that game, even we made the score a little bit closer than it was. They pretty much
mm-hmm.
were, they had us at bay almost the entire evening. And then we beat Cleveland and then lose to Cleveland, trading wins on each other's home floor. Lot to take away from those games and from each individual player, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit more nitty gritty. But I want to ask you, just how are you feeling about the Knicks right now? After this last week.
I'm nervous. I mean, I think the season is going to be, we've got too many difficult shots. Too many of our shots are just such a struggle when I see other teams getting easy baskets. We still need a one scorer. I mean, Brunson is excellent, and he plays well, but you can't just leave it all up to Brunson just playing ISO ball, dribbling around for 20 seconds and passing the ball to nobody and shooting. Yes, that works sometimes. That can't be the recipe. We need to, it's tough because there are times when I was like, wow, like the first half of last night's game. Wow, we're moving the ball real well. I love it the way we're whipping it around the perimeter and passing everybody, not holding the ball for any extended period, even Julius. But then, second half, it was a whole different story. So I don't know what's going on. I think I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Knicks this year to make a change by the trading deadline. I do, and I hope we don't do anything foolish. I heard you, man, Charles Barkley, talking about go out and get Carl Anthony Towns, which I don't think is necessarily the answer. I obviously don't want this Embiid thing to happen. I don't think that's going to happen anywhere. I don't think Philly has any interest in trading him, and it definitely not to a division foe. So I think there's going to be some pressure. I don't know of anybody. I want an explosive wing. I think like a Zach LaVine or OG Anunoby would be good. That said, I still have some, love for RJ, so I want to keep him around. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there, but I think it's going to be a tough year, Nick. I mean, I'm hoping for 50 wins, but it's going to be a struggle, man. We're going to go through some tough times potentially.
Couple things that stand out to me. First and foremost, early in the season, back to backs,
Yeah.
that can be a little bit tough sometimes. Beating any NBA team twice in a row in a home and home can be tough sometimes. Last night's game, you're not going to win a game in the NBA when we shoot 5 for 30 from three. Point
No,
blank, period. There's just
period.
no ifs, ands, or buts about that. No, everything else could go perfectly right. Like if you shoot 5 for 30, you're not going to win many games in the NBA. And they were a lot of good looks, a lot of looks that I was happy with when they left the hand, and they just weren't going in. Julius in particular, it's it's really tough for me because you obviously I'm the leader of the Julius Randle nation. I love the guy. I'm very pro him. I think he gets way too much flack, and he started off really struggling shooting the ball. 27.6%. It's actually a record for any player through the first 5 games of the season with at least 50 field goal attempts. And but on the flip side, I felt like I've seen him playing good defense, hustling, sharing the ball. And those are the things that I feel like if he's doing those things, the shooting will take care of itself. He'll start to make shots. And it was really last night's game, especially in the second half, where I saw a lot of the things, a lot of the bad Julius started to come out. Last night in the second half, I found very disheartening, man.
Yeah,
First of all, he got to a point where he seemed like he didn't want to shoot the ball. Where and Julius,
absolutely.
you're too important. You have to put it up. I understand maybe hey things aren't going your way, so you don't want to just keep firing threes. But when you're catching the ball and just hot potato in it to somebody, and it's not like a good swing, it just almost seems like you just don't want to touch it. That does not help our offense at all. And it was the body language yesterday in the second half. That was the thing that crept in. And I even saw Brunson. I saw Brunson one time walk up to him and say, I couldn't see exactly what he said, but he almost walked up to him, grabbed him by the arm, and he said something to him like, "Yo, man, what the fuck? Like, come on." And it was right after Julius had there was a play where Julius was still arguing with the ref, like, and it was like 6 seconds into the shot clock. I mean, the play's going, guy. Come on, okay, say something quickly, but we got to go. And then after that, when there was a break, I saw Brunson, walk over to him, and Julius honestly kind of just like brushed him off. And I hate to see that. And I really hope that these guys, because Tibbs is not going to hold Julius accountable. We know that. That's not who he's got to think for Julius. That's his guy. It just doesn't seem like he's going to do that. We need the other players on the team to really get at this guy and not let this spiral out of control. You got the right mindset. We realize that your shots aren't falling. You get less calls than any all-star that I've ever seen play basketball. I mean, Julius, the refs, I don't know what the thing is, and I feel like this year he's been trying not to get on them as much. He gets no calls. There's at least 2 or 3 times a game where I'm like, how does he not get that? I don't understand. That was clearly a foul. Knicks in general have been on the wrong end of the officiating this year, a couple different games, in my opinion. But man, I just need my man Julius to just, you know, I don't know, read another Bruce Lee passage or something. I need him to do whatever it is. I need Julius engaged. I need him locked in. I need him being mindful of his overall body language and how he carries himself. Because just as you said, when that stuff starts to just, show the slightest cracks for him, those cracks really spread throughout the entire team.
Absolutely. I mean, that second half last night was a very distressing display by Julius. I feel like, Nick, that yes, he doesn't get a lot of calls. He should get more calls. But I absolutely felt like last night, like in the first couple games, we spoke about how he was just going straight up, not the double pumping and all this stuff. I saw that coming out again last night with the double pumping, and it's like, dude, man. And I saw him do that one time, and I felt like he could have just gone straight up and laid the ball up. He did the double pump. He missed the shot. And it's like, God, man, don't fall back into the bad habits. And somebody needs to be in his ear reminding him about all that. And see, I think Tibbs is willing to get on any one of his players. I think he just backs off of Julius because, frankly, I think he probably feels like if he really got on Julius like he gets on some of these other guys, Julius would not handle it well.
Yeah.
I think he's just realizing I can't be same way with everybody, and Julius would not handle that well. I mean, if he got on Julius, like say, like how he gets on Grimes, I don't know what Julius might do. I mean, he wouldn't be happy, and he wouldn't just nod and say okay. So Julius is an excellent player, And if he plays smart and keeps playing aggressive, he does great things for us. But he can't get into the sullen thing and can't get bashful on the court. We don't need Julius to be as just angry as he's been, but it almost seems like he's calmed it down too much in certain situations. Like last night, I felt like, did somebody give this guy lithium at halftime? I mean, he just seemed so out of it. I was like, what is wrong with this guy? He was like dragging ass, like he was tired, but not tired, just lethargic and just, almost sullen. And it was just strange, man. It was strange because we had so many opportunities to get back in that game. I'm sorry. Against that Cleveland team, especially with their missing players, they're not that good. I think that guy Mobley sucks. I think that we should have beat that team, man. There's just no doubt about it to me. Back to back, I don't care. We should have won that game last night. And there were some plays where I was disgusted. And actually, it's funny because I was so disgusted. And I saw Tibbs at one point, they did something really stupid. And Tibbs just turned around from the team. And you could just see on his face, he was just like, so disgusted, man. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? We got to figure it out, man. And now this weekend, I mean, look, it just never stops in the NBA. There's another game coming up. So you better figure it out quick because, like I said, man, you could be 3-10 in no time if you don't. So can't let it snowball. Got to suck it up, And honestly, this team goes nowhere without Julius, man. And yeah, is there pressure on him nightly to keep the team together and make it happen? Yeah, the pressure is on him nightly. That's right, Julius. You got to be that guy, man. If he's not that guy, we're not going anywhere. Period.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I do want him to play under more control, but he has to play forceful at all times. And then the second
Right.
half yesterday, he was totally checked out. It looked like, I don't know. I mean, hey, he had off-season surgery. He didn't get to do the conditioning he typically wants to. It's a second game of a back-to-back. I don't know if those things factor in. Hopefully, he's still working himself up to being in the type of condition he typically is, because he's typically a very well-conditioned athlete. But at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, he's got to be better. You mentioned that Cleveland had some people out. They did get back Levert, who killed us last night, and we were without our guy RJ. And I thought that last night's game was a shining example of how RJ now I think is becoming like that more number two, one A or number two player on this team, up there with Brunson because we really missed a guy from the perimeter that we could give the ball and he could just get himself a shot. We really missed that yesterday, and that's what RJ does. RJ gets a lot of easy buckets. RJ gets to the line. That's another thing about Julius yesterday that you could tell that he was not being his typical forceful self because he wasn't getting to the line. But
Mm-hmm.
we definitely, we're going to need RJ. Hope, I've heard that the injury is not that big of a deal for him. They just, had some knee soreness, and he'll be playing here against Friday against the Bucks. But yeah, man. RJ, I think I love RJ's season thus far.
Mm-hmm.
His three looks as natural as it ever has. When it leaves his hand, I think it has a chance to go in, which there's been times where I haven't felt that way at all.
At
And he
all.
seems to be finishing not only at the rim, closer to the rim, just getting all the way to the rim as opposed to, putting up some floater falling away. But it seems like his overall touch when he gets around the rim, I don't know what he did this offseason to work on that specifically, but it definitely seems like the balls that he gets up on the rim just have a better chance of bouncing it around and going in as opposed to just being, a missile that, hits the side of the rim and is a hazard to anyone who's close by. But yeah, definitely need RJ to be healthy. Grimes, Dad, there was one play yesterday where Grimes gets kicked the ball in the corner, and he kicked it to Julius. Julius probably should have shot, but then Julius
Yes.
kicks it back to him.
Yes.
He gets the ball. He pump fakes, then like goes to tries to pass, and then shoots the three. And it was just like you just made that shot as hard as you possibly could.
Yeah.
And he still to me like he shows little flashes of being able to handle the ball and like he has the basketball IQ. And then there's other times where he seems like he has no basketball IQ. and his defense is fantastic. That's the one thing that seems like he always brings. But I need him to shoot more. He can't pass up looks. If he gets a
No,
shot, if he gets a three, he has to let it fly. He has to. And it seems like whenever there's like a run going and things are going and we got something going here and the ball gets kicked to Grimes and Grimes catches it, puts it up, that shit never falls in that spot for him. It seems like he always hits the three that's like, okay, but it seems like he never hits the big one. I need Grimes to be better. He needs to be more aggressive. He needs to go to the basket and he needs to let it go when he gets the ball.
agreed 1,000% on everything you said. Grimes also, though, sometimes a little too fidgety, a little bit too much with the fast twitch. I mean, just slow it down. He gets the ball and immediately goes like this, travel. It's just that happens to you too often, guy. I mean, come on, we got to stop that now. You're out of the diapers. You can't do that anymore. So I love Grimes. I do. I'm expecting big things from him this year, but he just has to play a little more under control. And yeah, I love his defense. He's fantastic. He's aggressive, plays good, hard defense. So, Grimes could definitely be better. And we need the big shots from him. You're right. He usually makes those threes when we're up by 4 to put us up 7. You know what I mean? He doesn't make those threes when we're up by 8 and a shot by him would put us up 11. He misses it. And then next thing you know, we're up by 3 again. So come on, Grimes. We need you, bro. We need you in the worst way. Hopefully he can do it, man. I mean, he's another guy who I'd like to see stick around. I really want to see a couple of these guys just make an upswing so we don't need to make any changes, but I don't know. At the end of the day, you are what it says on the back of your card, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what, Grimes? I don't know why. I just thought about this when you were talking about it. Grimes should be playing somebody in one-on-one every day after practice. Like, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like somebody like him and Quick should be like playing each other in one-on-one every day after practice because that's what's
Mm-hmm.
missing in Grimes's game is like, okay, I got this guy right in front of me. What am I going to do? And it seems like he has all of the necessary talent, but he just for some reason doesn't do it. And like you said, when he does, he seems like he's moving so fast and he's almost like jittery to a certain extent.
Right.
Yeah, it's very hard to understand. I need Grimes to be a little bit better. Like, a game last night where RJ's out, Julius is not playing well. Can we get the Quentin Grimes game? Like, can we get the Grimes game right there where he,
That's right.
just figures out a way to light it up and make it happen? Like, we really needed that from him last night. We need Quick to be a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, we
Quickly
do.
can definitely be a pressure cooker, at certain times, but I also feel like there's other games where if he misses a couple threes, he kind of falls into his shell a little bit and or crawls into his shell a little bit. I need Quick to be a little bit more consistent, a little bit more dynamic, and to be just the guy who sometimes I'm just like, Quick, get the ball and just go, man. Just go. Put the pressure on the
Mm-hmm.
defense. And when you get into the lane, I think Quick tries too many times to finish shots in the lane like this.
Yes. Yes.
Go to the rim and lay the ball up strong on these cats, man. Get a foul or something. This shot like this is just the percentages are so low. He's got to be better at that. He's gotten stronger. He needs to be more confident attacking the rim and getting all the way to the rim.
Yes. Yeah, go all the way to the rim. If you get your shot blocked at the rim, so be it. Go to the rim. Force him to foul you. He's a great foul shooter. We won't even get into who's shooting the techs anymore. I can't even have that conversation. But yeah, Quick. We need more out of Quick. We need consistency out of Quick. It's very early in the season, so let's not go crazy and overdo it. What are we 5 games in? So talk to me when we're 20 games in. Hopefully by that time, we're no worse than say 12-8 or 13-7. I think we'll be. I'm concerned about the season. Of course. I mean, I believe we'll make the playoffs, but I need us to do better than just make the playoffs. The other teams in the East have gotten better. It's going to be a struggle, man. These teams have gotten better. Look, this game against the Bucks tomorrow. I mean, that's going to be very tough, man. And they're coming off their first loss too. I mean, we got to come correct, man. I listen. Those guys are a juggernaut, man. But listen, they could be beat like everybody else. If we play our game, we could be right in there with them. But we have to play our game. We have to be consistent throughout. So we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully Tibbs has them all ready.
Yeah, Julius, you can't be letting Bobby Portis bust your ass, okay? All right, Julius, I do not want to see that. I need you to get it done. I need Josh Hart to he doesn't look confident when it comes to the three. I at least saw him
Oh my
go
God!
I at least saw him go coast to coast one time yesterday, so I felt a little bit better than that. I love when him and DiVincenzo are both on the floor at the same time because it seems like there's
Right?
no loose ball that we're not going to get. Like DiVincenzo so far, I've
Yes.
like to see the shooting come around and get a little bit better. His shooting at the rim is an absolute crapshoot on whether or not he's going to make a layup. I'm telling you that there was one yesterday where he actually made the layup, but when it came off his hand, both he and everybody watching were like, because he just seems to never just like lay the ball just straight off the glass, straight through the net. There always seems to
Right.
be some bouncing around or something, and quite often it rolls off. But yeah, man, it is early in the season. We have the hardest schedule. Strength of schedule of anybody for the first 10 games in the entire NBA. So we do have
Okay.
to keep that in mind. I do think that 20 game mark is a good place to look. If we're obviously if we were below 500 at that point, it'd be quite very distressing. But yeah,
Big
12 and
problem.
8, I'd be pretty happy with 12 and 8. Interesting to see what we're going to look like. I'm just so nervous about Julius, man. I'm so nervous about that second half yesterday, and I'm hoping that it is just a small blip on the radar that we'll look back at, and that we won't even remember by the end of the season. But that the only way that happens is if he comes out and gets it done Friday against the Bucks.
Josh Hart has to do better, Nick. I swear I feel like he lost his jump shot on the side of the highway somewhere. I mean, where is this guy's jump shot? Last year, if you remember, wow, this guy was lights out from the 3 point line and whatnot. Now it's like this guy can't even he can't make a shot, man, from outside. I mean,
But that was
seeing him
fool's
go,
gold, Dad. That was fool's gold
it was absolutely
when
fool's
he
goal. It's
came to the
obvious
Knicks.
now,
Everybody from Portland was like, "Who the fuck is this guy who's making all these
right?
threes all of a sudden?" And then in the
Unbelievable.
playoffs, it started to regress to the mean, and now we're seeing the opposite end of that spectrum.
That's right. That's right. So that concerned me. I was thrilled to watch him go coast to coast last night because that's his game, man. We need more of that from him. But we need everybody to pick it up a little. Mitch actually is playing. I love the way I like what I'm seeing from Mitch. Love what I'm seeing from Hartenstein. So I think we have some guys doing some good role play and whatnot. But we have to, like you said, Julius is the straw that stirs the drink. We need Julius out there doing his thing in a big way.
Yeah, Hartenstein's played his ass off. I mean, he's had a fantastic first 5 games of the season. Just been everywhere. I love the way he handles the ball out top. Some of that he made a pocket pass to Quickly, where I think Quickly got fouled. He didn't even make the layup. It wasn't. It was that first game against Cleveland. I mean, there's just not too many big men in the league that can do that. He's playing himself probably out of a Knicks uniform. Come next season, there's no way that we're going to be able to put that much money into the center position, and somebody is going to pay him to be their starting center if he continues to play this well. Yeah, Hartenstein plays great. That guy gets his hands on loose balls. I mean, him and Mitch when they're in the game, the way that they hit the offensive glass, it's such a weapon. We just got to shoot better, man. We got to shoot better.
Right.
In the games that we've lost, it's been the games that we haven't shot well, especially from deep. And in today's NBA, we know that you cannot win games that way. So I don't know
But
what
part
it's
of
going
it
to take.
too, Nick, part of it too, I was thinking last night, we're shooting a lot from outside. We're missing the shots. Guys, we just got to go to the hole. There would be like 5 straight trips down the court where we never even went in the paint. Can't do that. And then I watched them come down and Donovan Mitchell go right to the basket, or we're
He's Donovan
committing a
Mitchell.
foul. I know, but we're committing a foul or he's going to the basket in addition. We've got to get in the lane. Who do we have on the team right now that can put it on the floor and get to the basket? RJ,
It's
basically.
really RJ and Brunson.
Brunson, but Brunson's kind of small for that sort of thing. We need somebody else. That's what I'm saying, like a Zach LaVine. This guy could go to the basket and maybe dunk on somebody on occasion, all that. I'm not saying we're getting Zach LaVine. We need somebody doing something like that, more slashing. RJ does some slashing, but he's still RJ. I mean, he's a little slow, a little robotic. We need somebody that's just lithe, quick, fast, and jumpy, and got the long arms. Let's go. I mean,
The
I
guy
need
is Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's that
That's
guy.
Donovan Mitchell, but then there's the size issue with him and Brunson. But whatever, we'll worry about
Sure.
that
I'll
after
take
next season.
Donovan Mitchell right now if we could get him.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
just
think
just like
sure.
I wanted him badly back when it was rumored we were going to get him last summer. Speaking of Brunson, there's still so many shots that he shoots in a game that I'm just like assuming that's definitely going in. That for whatever reason he's not hitting yet. He was 8 of 23 yesterday. He ends up with 24 points because he goes to the line. I think he was either 8 of 9 or 9 of 10 from the line. So he ends up with 24 points. But his percentages are way down as well. He still seems like he hasn't kicked it into high gear. Both Julius and Brunson are killing me with the books because I keep betting their overs because I feel like this is the game. I rarely bet on my team to win or lose unless they are the dog. And therefore, I can bet them money line, and I don't care how much they win by if I think that they're going to. But I do sometimes make some prop bets thinking like, I watch this so much. I can look at the trends and see what's going to happen. All I've been doing is chasing the Julius and Brunson breakout game. And I haven't found anything just yet so far this season. So throw a couple dollars back in my pocket, guys. Let's have that breakout game against Milwaukee on Friday. And from there we'll see what happens. This guy, Dame Dollar, obviously he's a problem. We typically do okay against Giannis. We typically do okay against Giannis. Mitch is a guy who is a good matchup for Giannis as far as, he's a guy who has the lateral quickness to be able to not just have him run around him and is long and springy enough to be able to, challenge him at the apex.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game. I hope we can figure out a way to neutralize this guy Giannis somewhat. And Dame, I mean, man, I mean, listen, if we're in a late game situation where it's tight, that's a lose situation. Okay, we can't be in a late game situation where it's tight with Dame Dollar on the other team.
I got
Okay,
a chill
just
down my
can't happen.
spine just hearing you say that.
Yeah, it can't happen. We're not going to win that game. We need to be in control of the game to have a shot to win this game because Dame's going to go on some sort of flurry in the fourth quarter. He just is. That's why he's
Dame time.
Dame time. Right, exactly. So we'll see. But tomorrow's a tall hill. Tomorrow night's a tall hill to climb, no doubt.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Are you going to a Knicks game when you're back in Jersey?
I'm not. I'm not.
Oh,
Yeah, because tomorrow night I'm going to be up in Syracuse, and then Monday night the Jet game, and Saturday afternoon college football game in Connecticut. So won't have a chance to go to a Knicks game while I'm there.
got you.
Unfortunately.
So the D-backs lost last night in the World Series to the Texas Rangers. D-backs, the last two games, just kicked the ball around, you know, kind of just it's a really disappointing ending to what was kind of a magical season. To quote my boy Dom, talking about it last night in the group chat. He's a lifelong D-backs fan. Yeah, unfortunate for them. You hope they're moving in the right direction. But the thing about baseball, as we know, hey, back in 2015, I thought the Mets were moving in the right direction when they lost
That's
in the
right.
World Series, and we haven't we've had one wild card berth since. So you never really know. DeGrom and Max Scherzer, the guys who were supposed to be our 1A and 1B, get their World Series rings. Max Scherzer, minor contribution. DeGrom, zero contribution. Um, Garcia ends up getting hurt, but then Seager comes in and decides to put the cape on. What do you think of the World Series and how it ended up?
This guy Seager is a monster, and this guy Garcia is a monster. I mean, come on, man, that guy. Wow, they really played well. Arizona Diamondbacks, they had a great season. I mean, but they just couldn't put it together when they needed to. And you know how it is in baseball, man. You just have to have a 3 or 4 game losing streak, and that's it. Season over. These guys, I heard somebody talking about it today, Texas. They went 11-0 on the road this postseason. That may never be done again.
Yeah.
Okay. That was amazing. No one's ever done that. So that was absolutely amazing. I did feel like I was talking with our beloved cousin, Carl Gentles. He was at the game, not last night's game, the night before. And he was very distressed, obviously, with them losing. Another lifelong Diamondbacks fan. And I said he was upset with Castro, and did this guy Castro used to pitch for the Mets?
Yes. I
Exactly,
told I
and I
told my
hated him
boys
back
who were
then.
I told my boys who were Diamondbacks fans, like, because I saw Castro pitched when I went to the game on July 4th, Mets versus Diamondbacks, and Castro pitched in that game. And
Mhm.
I told my boys back then, I said, yo, this guy Castro, I'm telling you, you cannot ever lean on him in a high leverage situation. And
No,
all of my boys who are D-backs fans were all screaming at this guy, Torrey. Why are you continuing to lean on this guy Castro? Because he's gotten lit up a couple times in this playoffs. Yeah,
hmm
he's the one, as we know as Mets fans, he's the guy that you bring him in some garbage time when you're up 6 runs or when you're down 6 runs, he'll look pretty good. But you bring him in a big time, tight spot, yo, he spits the bit all the time.
every time. His skinny ass always gets lit up in big situations. And I told Carl that. I was like, dude, this guy's about to get lit up. And bang, it happened just like that. Come on, man. He's got some life on his ball, but for whatever reason, man, and we saw it over and over with the Mets, when that guy's in a big situation, it just never goes well. It never goes well. So what are you going to do? You got to have the pitching, man. And they had the pitching. They had the pitching advantage. And Seawald, another guy who used to be with the Mets, he'd been pitching great for them, but he
Mm,
couldn't get it done this series. It all went south for him. The wheels came off the bus. So what are you going to do? It's baseball.
Yeah, what you hope is that the D-backs and their ownership, who notoriously has not paid guys, that they take this momentum and they continue to add to this team. Having a team in the World Series with Tommy Pham as your number three hitter and Castro as a guy that you really rely on in big spots, that's just talent wise not the team that typically wins a
No,
World Series. They got to the World Series, so you got to give them credit for that. They need to take that next step, add a couple guys, make sure that they take care of their young guys, and hopefully baseball can continue to get more exciting here in the desert.
yes. Hopefully, I mean, Tommy Pham, by the way, can we pipe down a little bit?
Shut the
Okay.
fuck
I
up,
mean,
guy.
come on, guy. I mean, why do you have to keep talking about the Mets? I mean, I get it. And maybe somebody asked you a pointed question, but if I'm him, I try to say, listen, that was before. I'm not playing with them anymore. I'm playing with the D backs. That's what I'm talking about. But he seems to take every opportunity to say, oh, well, it was like this with the Mets. And come on, shut the fuck up. Get lost. Get out of here. So, you know, I don't know. He kind of turned me off with that whole act. But listen, I wish the D backs well. I think they played, they obviously had a fantastic season, but, that's how baseball is, man. It can all go south at any time. And you need some real staying power. But obviously, they're going to stick with their team and move forward. They've got some great young talent. So hopefully they build on those guys and, do something well. But honestly, now that they're out of it, I don't care what they do. I care what the Mets do for next season because I don't want to hear shit from my Arizona Diamondbacks friends that I live around here in Phoenix. I just want to be, preening my feathers because the Mets are doing well. That's all that matters right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Tommy Pham, he's like the guy who, at his wedding reception, he makes his speech and he talks about his ex-wife.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, come on, guy, move on. That's ancient history. Nobody cares. Everybody's here to celebrate you and your union, not this chick who burned you a few years back. Okay, come on, nobody cares.
Exactly, exactly. I know you didn't see the actual fight. I was able to see it not during the fight, but go back and look at most of the fight between Ngannou and Tyson Fury. I'm sure you've, caught wind of the fact that many people think Ngannou won the fight. I mean,
Right?
almost I can't really find too many people other than the judges at the actual fight who say that Fury definitely won that fight. Obviously, Ngannou dropped Fury with an
Mm-hmm.
overhand left, and it looked like Fury didn't take the fight super seriously. It looked
Mm-hmm.
like Ngannou is just an absolute freak athlete. For him to be able, I don't care if this guy had been on the couch for the last 6 months, for him to be able to go 10 rounds, just a guy at that size being able to box for 10 rounds is impressive. For him to be able to go 10 rounds against the guy who is the linear heavyweight champion of the world and what many people think is he actually beat him. Super, super impressive. What do you think about, the way that that fight played out, and what does that really mean for, boxing in the heavyweight division moving forward?
Not good for boxing. Come on. Your heavyweight champion's basically supposed to beat anybody, especially a non-boxer. I mean, I'm sorry. And Tyson Fury, he's a good fighter, but I don't think he's like an all-time great heavyweight. I just don't. He's 6'9". Yeah, that's great. But if he goes up against somebody who can not get caught by that jab and can move on him and land some punches, he's going to get caught out there. Now, listen, he's not a body beautiful. He's not a tight guy and all that. And I get it. Not everybody has to be built by Ngannou and all that. But you know what, man? At the end of the day, this is the fight game, bro. If you're a little flabby, a little loose in the middle, if you got a guy who can get inside and really start working you over in the midsection, it's not going to go well for him. Okay? It's not going to go well for him. I don't care who it is. And like I told you, Nick, being, as old as I am and having seen some of these guys, I think Muhammad Ali would have crushed him. I think Larry Holmes would have given him a good run for his money. A lot of these big, tall guys, I think early George Foreman would have knocked his ass out. How about that? Um, you know, um, I think he's a good fighter for now, but boxing, boxing's just falling off, man. It's very sad to see because some of my greatest sports memories as a child were watching great boxing matches. As you know, your grandfather, my dad, was a huge boxing fan, and he used to take me to see closed circuit fights all the time. As a matter of fact, my mom once told me that he used to take her to see fights when she was pregnant with me in Jamaica back in the day in the early 60s. So, it comes to me naturally. I just think boxing is in a bad space right now. And I don't really know what's going to save it. I honestly don't. It's been in a bad space for years. This almost loss by Tyson Fury doesn't do well for the game of boxing at all.
Yeah, and then also once again the corruption in boxing where, everybody thinks the fight is one way and we see, the opposite from the guys judging the fight. I mean, that's the thing to me. It's like with UFC and with mixed martial arts in general, but specifically UFC, they have a better product. It's more exciting. They market and produce it in a much better manner than boxing does. There's one champion in every weight class, so there's not all these different guys. And when there's a shitty result, Dana White calls it out immediately, and we see, either that fight get remade or, we see some sort of retribution. There seems to be some sort of accountability there. So that's one of the things that's better. And now we have a guy who was great in the UFC, our heavyweight champion, and he can, for what most people say, beat your heavyweight champion. I mean, that just to me just shows it's just by far the inferior product right now. And it's unfortunate because just like your memories with your father in boxing, I can remember coming home on a Friday night and sitting there and we're up watching fights on HBO and just how excited we would get about the Tysons of the world back in the day. Even like my guy, that guy Prince Nassim, he was my guy, like who I loved so much. And like, yo, man, I mean, those days are over. There are some young, exciting fighters. I mean, you got Bud, you got Tank, you got Shador. That's not Shador. What's the kid's name? I don't know, whatever. But no, there's a lot of young, exciting fighters. I just think that boxing as a whole, because of this mismanagement, is not that exciting of a product. And I think that this past weekend with Ngannou showing against Fury is just really damning for them overall. But, there's still a whole lot of money in it. They're still getting people to pay $75 for
Well,
pay-per-views.
that's what I think. They need to get boxing. If they want to bring it back, get it off of pay-per-view, man. Get it off. It can't be always pay-per-view. There's got to be some boxing out there that's free. On network TV or something. When I was a kid, there was boxing on almost every weekend. Wide World of Sports on ABC on Saturdays. And back when I was a kid, it was all free because if it was pay-per-view or anything closed circuit, we were going to a theater to watch it with 10,000 other people. So there was no pay-per-view in your home. So I don't know. I think you need to do that more if you want to make boxing available to the masses. But that's just me, an old man speaking, right?
I do think that ESPN has tried to do that a little bit since they've gotten into boxing. There has been a few fights that were, just on ESPN that were some bigger fights, but yeah, I just don't think I think especially now with the UFC alternative, I don't think it can ever come back. I don't
Yeah.
because it's just okay, and then UFC also just appeals much more to the modern person.
Yes.
UFC is the TikTok of boxing.
Yes.
It's shorter, it's more exciting, boom, boom, in and out, and that's what people like. And especially with all the what really turns people off is when they spend $75 and then at the end there's either a really boring fight, which you rarely get in the UFC. It happens, but very rarely do you just get a super boring fight or a boring card,
Hmm.
or where you get a result that clearly seems like that you feel the exact opposite result is what you just witnessed, and those two things just happen way too often in boxing, and I don't think there's anything coming back for that.
That's a fact. I mean, my beloved boxing is in a distressing state. Hopefully, somehow they can figure it out, but it's not looking good, obviously.
Catch us every week on YouTube or wherever you find your podcast. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And you can find us on all socials at he underscore did this to me. Love you, big guy.
Love you too, kid.